We are seeing victory after victory, not just in America, but around the globe. We are winning this culture war. We are. We are actually winning the culture war. We are winning on so many levels. That could change tomorrow. It could change next week. It could change in a month. It could change in a year. And they will fight us on this. But we are seeing it globally. Wokeism is dying. And it is glorious. It is wonderful. And I'm going to celebrate the small victories. Let's talk about some of those small victories today. Welcome back to Continue Freedom. If this is your first time here, welcome. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. We are on X, Rumble, Locals, and YouTube. Let's talk about the things going on, not just in America, but around the globe. Wokeism is dying. People are starting to stand up to wokeism. They are starting to stand up to socialism and to communism and to all this globalism, all this crazy stuff that is being pushed in multiple countries, in Europe, in South America. Here in America, obviously, we are fighting our own fight, but we have to celebrate some smaller victories. And I'm going to start by talking about Argentina. Argentina, some people might not go look at it on a map. You can see where it is. Used to be a pretty wealthy nation at one point. And what happens with every wealthy nation, just like ours, they start getting bold with the social programs. They start building the government as if the government is producing anything, which they do not. The only thing they do is they can print money. That's one thing they can make, but that doesn't help us. That hurts us, right? That causes our inflation. That puts us in a situation that we're in. Argentina is in a similar situation with 130-something% inflation. Well, they elected a guy, Javier Milei. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. Javier Milei is a libertarian. He is kind of wild. He's different. He is not afraid to swear. He is boisterous. He is tapped into, he's really got his finger on the pulse of Argentina. He knows what those people want to hear, and he is saying it. Whether he can follow through is one thing, but I hope he does. The guy's kind of a libertarian, is the way people are pitching him, but he's really more like a really, really conservative person. I heard that he named his dog Milton Friedman, if that tells you anything. So, kudos to him for that. But let's listen to a couple of things. And I'm going to narrate this for anybody that's listening on Spotify and iTunes, which, yes, we are getting ready to start posting our stuff on Spotify and iTunes. So I'm going to narrate it, but just bear with me on this. Well, he says the first thing we have to understand is that the state is not the solution. The state is the problem. That's very Reagan, by the way. Reagan always talked about the government isn't the solution, the government is the problem. And so let's keep going. So he's pointing at a board right now, a whiteboard. And he says this is the great violation that is the state, and it's showing the whole architecture of the nation of Argentina. And he said this is the source of Argentina's decadence. This is the picture of the state we have today. And so he moves over to another board, and he's showing all the different ministries, just the heads of the ministries. Out. The Ministry of Culture. Out. The Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development. Out. The Ministry of Women and Gender Diversity. Out. The Ministry of Public Works. Out. Out. Even if you resist, because it's stuck to the board. And so he just goes down the line, and he shrinks this down to a few, and I'll fast forward because I don't remember, but it was some very specific ones, things that that you would expect the federal government to actually take care of, right? And he says, so what is left of the state? Ministry of Human Capital, Ministry of Infrastructure, Ministry of Economy, Justice, Security, Defense, Foreign Affairs, and Interior. So that's it. That's all he had left. And in so doing, he's saying that all of these things that have come about because of woke ideology, because of socialist policies, because of social welfare systems and all of that, get rid of all of those things. All we are supposed to do is make sure that you can drive on the roads, that you can that we can defend our borders, and that we can go to war if we need to go to war with somebody. And that's about it. We don't need to be in education. We don't need to be in gender diversity, and we don't need to be in this. We don't need to be in that. All of these things that have come about because of wokeism, because of socialism, because of communism, get out of all of it. Free the people. Free the people. This has been a consistent messaging of his. We want to have freedom, right? And I'll go to another one here, and to show you kind of the I guess you can call it rhetoric, I guess would be the way to put it. People use that as a pejorative term these days, but talking about this is rhetoric, but he is tapping into the patriotism, a sense of national pride that is being awoken in Argentina. Now listen to this. I didn't come here to guide sheep. I came here to wake up lions. I want to hear you roar. Long live freedom, G-Diet. Long live freedom, G-Diet. Long live freedom, G-Diet. I mean, he's pulling out these massive crowds and these people that are amped up, right? They're amped up about fixing the system. They're amped up about having some freedom and liberty returned to them. Amongst other things, he's calling for the abolishment of the central bank, which is huge. Central banks, I mean, that's how you get inflation, right? So he's talking about abolishing the central bank, relying more on the U.S. dollar. He's talking about reviving trade with the U.S. and reviving relations with the U.S. and with the West, with Europe. He's talking about limiting trade and putting heavy restrictions on Chinese goods because he believes that China is a problem. It's not the solution. He is very pro-Israel. He is very pro-life. He has a lot of things that align with American conservatism. But at the end of the day, he's saying, no, I'm not here. The government is not here to solve problems. The government is here to cause problems. That's essentially the messaging. And that aligns with myself. I mean, I certainly believe that. The government solves very few problems. I mean, you look at the war on poverty. I don't know what our final count is. The last time I looked was about 2 years ago, and we were at $22 trillion, and we hadn't changed poverty at all. We've had a lot of other negative impacts to people, but we have not changed poverty at all, despite spending $22 trillion of our hard-earned money. And so he's not the only one. So this is not just happening inside of Argentina, but there is another guy who has stepped up, and it is, I'm going to mess up his name. It is Pierre. Oh no, what was it? Let's just watch it and see. He's a guy. He's Canadian. Definitely conservative. That is Justin Trudeau. He's a abysmal person, but let's listen.
Billionaire buddies to go after local news for Canadians. That's not what Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, this from a guy who took a $160,000 taxpayer-funded trip to a private villa for which there was no security reason that he couldn't pay for his own room. He took a $6,000 a night vacation in London, 2 weeks in Costa Rica in the middle of the summer, surfing in Tofino on Truth and Reconciliation Day at taxpayers' expense, and a guilty verdict for staying at Billionaire Island. Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister is out of touch and Canadians are out of money. When will he stop with these vacations and start working for the people in this country?
Mr. Speaker,
Pierre Poilievre, or Poilievre, I believe is how you pronounce it. This is the guy in Canada making huge waves because people have been exposed to this guy for far too long. Justin Trudeau has wrecked that country. They've wrecked its economy, just like they did in Argentina, just like they've done in Venezuela, just like they've done in China. Or not, well, China is, that's just a dictatorship. But every socialist country, and even the ones that are these faux capitalist free market countries that inject socialism into them, people start to rise up against it. And that is where we are today. That's what is happening. It's the reason that Vivek Ramaswamy is making huge waves. It's the reason that Donald Trump was elected in the first place. And it's the very same reason that they are trying to shut Donald Trump down. Because the people, we aren't idiots. We aren't stupid. We know what is happening. We can see it with our own two eyes that they are stripping away our freedoms, that they are stripping away our rights, that they are trying to take power that is not theirs, power that belongs to the people. They are devaluing our money. They are making bad decisions, and we want to put people into office that will make better decisions, that will put the power back in our hands, not in theirs. And this is a long way to go. I'm not saying that these two people are going to change it. I'm not even saying that Donald Trump is going to change it or that Vivek Ramaswamy is going to change it. What I'm saying is, if we can, as a country, if we can say the power belongs with the people, and the people that we elect to office better adhere to that, they better understand that, or we will vote them out, or they will be gone. Their power, their reign, their opportunity will be very short-lived. And if they are against us, we'll find somebody to replace them. It's not that hard. But other victories, it's not just when we can look at the presidential races. We can look at people in Argentina. We can look at Canada. We can look at here in America. Donald Trump just had a 20 or 30% swing with 18 to 34 voters. Are you telling me that there isn't an awakening coming inside of this country? I mean, if ever there has been a glimmer of hope, and believe you me, they will do everything they can to fill your Instagram, your YouTube, your Twitter or X feed, your Facebook feed. They will fill it with people saying that those calling for freedom and liberty are the enemy, that they are wrong, and you have to be smarter than that. We have to be smarter than that. We know better. Everything that we hear, including me, question everything that I say. We have to. We are walking on a very tight rope, but there are those trimmers. There's those trimmers, and then, the intention of the founding fathers was never to have people legislating from the bench. However, our hands have been forced, and so we're now in a situation where we need legislation from the bench, and the legislation from the bench is moving in our direction. I'm a pro-Second Amendment person. I will never, ever speak ill of the Second Amendment because I understand its importance in our right to self-preservation. It's how we prevent tyranny inside of this country. And it's why they are trying so hard to take it away from us. But in Maryland, the handgun licensure law is unconstitutional, a U.S. court has ruled. What does this mean? This means that Maryland had a precursor to buying a firearm, which meant that you had to go through this licensure course. It was, some hours of training and all that kind of stuff. And people do that for concealed carry permits in some states. But this Maryland ruling is telling us that the courts are starting to say, no, we are figuring this out. Like, this has been ruled on time and time again. You can't put barriers between a free citizen and their firearms. You can't, because that is the same thing, in my opinion. This is me interjecting. That is the same thing as putting a barrier between myself and my freedom. I can do that if I commit a crime. If I commit a crime, then I can have a barrier put between me and my freedom, between me and my liberty, right? That's how a just society works. Now, we can talk about when those freedoms are supposed to be restored, but nonetheless, you can't just arbitrarily say that you, American citizen, I'm going to put all these hurdles in your way to exercise your constitutional right. Negative. Absolutely not. It's no different than me saying I want to, picket on a public sidewalk. You can't require me to get permits to do that. That's the public square. You can't keep me out of the public square. And we are winning these fights. This is a huge victory, not to mention that states are starting to show what they feel. They're starting to say, you know what? We're not going to sit by and wait for the courts to do this. We're just going to take action. Look at all those green states. Those are constitutional carry states. There are no barriers between you and carrying a firearm, period. None. Tennessee, where I live, phenomenal on this. Now the blue states, those are states that they shall issue concealed carry weapons permits. That means it's not that they may issue, and shall means you have to. Like, you have to issue a concealed carry permit. You can't hold that right from some people. The may issue are the people, well, obviously you can look at them. California, New York, Delaware, Maryland was one, but Maryland, this is a huge deal. This has been struck down. So now we're getting to the point, and New York had a battle not too long ago as well, that they can't put these artificial barriers, because it used to be that if you were in New York or in California or places like that, you had to be rich, you had to be famous. If you're rich and famous, you can protect yourself. Anybody else, no, you're not responsible enough to protect yourself. You are not responsible to practice your Second Amendment rights. But if you're Cardi B, you can have one. Otherwise, no, not you. And these are the victories that I'm talking about. And they're happening one right after the other. And then, to the culture war, I'm telling you, this is, I don't know if you've heard, Washington Post, this is an opinion piece, but Elon Musk's silly lawsuit offers a glimpse into Musk's MAGA alliance. So this is, the reason I pulled up an opinion piece is because these opinion pieces eventually become the center, the theme of the mainstream media. They are going to pitch this as just being, he's a MAGA Republican, which he's obviously not, but they are going to slander this guy. He's going after Media Matters. Why? Media Matters created some fake accounts on X, and then they started to spam the refresh button. Is kind of what I've read is how they call it. I'm not a computer guy, but they essentially constantly hit the refresh button until anti-Semitic content or something showed up beside an ad for one of their major sponsors. So they did this. I mean, think about doing this 100,000 times, 10,000 times until those ads align. And then they took a screenshot of it and said, oh, see, your stuff is appearing next to anti-Semitic content. And they were posting the anti-Semitic content, or they were following it rather. And what this showed was, in the instances they cited, there were two people who saw that anti-Semitic content. One was the person that posted it. The other was Media Matters. And in some instances, it was only the one person, which was Media Matters, was the only person that saw it. And so Elon Musk, they started putting a hold. All these companies put massive holds on advertising on X. Well, when you put a massive hold on advert, that's all of his revenue. So they're trying to shut down his revenue by generating false pretenses, saying that X is promoting this stuff. They're promoting anti-Semitic stuff, and they're allowing ads to play next to it. The problem is Twitter catches this stuff. Twitter doesn't let that stuff fly. They are actually pretty good at it right now. Their algorithms are pretty good at it. And so, I don't know, it's 98% of the time, 99% of the time, nobody's ads show up next to anything nefarious. And so Ken Paxton has gotten on board with this. And now you've got a bunch of other influencers. There have been a whole slew of people who have stepped up and said, you know what? We will help you fight this, Elon. Even though Elon, do not get confused. Elon is not a conservative. Okay? I think he's a free market guy, but he's a left-wing person. He's a Democrat, but he's not a woke Democrat. And I'm okay with that. Like, we've existed for a long time, Republicans and Democrats, but he's a free speech guy. He's a free market guy. He doesn't want the government to be, controlling social media. He believes in the public square, and now he owns the major public square, and they're trying to shut it down. They're trying to wreck shop on Elon Musk. And you know what? Conservative commentators, these people with a bunch of money, these people with a bunch of reach, they're like, nah, not going to happen. We'll back you up, Elon. We'll get in this fight with you. So these are the victories. These are the victories that we have wanted for a really long time, and they are happening now, 1 year out from an election. We are in a situation unlike we've ever seen in this country, where the government is showing their hand. They are saying the quiet parts out loud, that we need to, shut down Twitter, the only free speech platform left. Facebook is not. YouTube is not. No. X. Rumble. Those are the places where you have free speech. Truth Social, you have free speech. And they are going to try to wreck them. But you know what? These little things give me a glimmer of hope. They truly do. They give me a glimmer of hope into not even necessarily conservatism, but just freedom and liberty in our country. And I hope that encourages you all. I hope that you can sit down and have your Thanksgiving and say, you know what? We got a long fight ahead of us. This next year is going to be brutal. It is going to be an absolute fist fight. Not literal, a figurative fist fight. But we can win this. People are getting tired of this. People are hurting. People are losing their money. They are losing their retirement. They are burdened by these silly decisions being made in Washington, D.C., and we have an opportunity to change it in 1 year. But we have to stay vigilant. We have to stay on top of it. We have to maintain a strong understanding of the things going on in this country, and that's what I'm going to try to do for you all. That's my goal for you all, and to keep you motivated. Heck yeah. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. Again, we are on Rumble, Locals, YouTube, and X, and we'll see you all next time.